Good evening, everyone. I would like to start with a land acknowledgement for the, I would like to start this meeting by recognizing that the area that we call the Fraser Valley Regional District has been home to 31 different nations for generations. Actions and decisions made by governments in the past have left many Indigenous communities untrusting of the Canadian healthcare system. It is our collective responsibility to keep this at the forefront of our minds as we make decisions as a hospital board, since the decisions we make have a direct impact on the physical and mental well-being of all community members, Indigenous and non-Indigenous. So with that in mind, I would like to call to order the October 24th, 2024 meeting of the Hospital District Board. Ms. Kinman?
Looking for approval of the agenda and late items.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Director Facio, Director Shahal. Though any errors or omissions? Those in favor? Contrary, carried.
Item 4.1 is the draft Fraser Valley Regional Hospital District Board meeting minutes of September 26, 2024.
Moved Director Lum, second Director Clute. Any questions? Seeing none, those in favor, contrary, carried.
Item 5.1 is the 2024 Hospital District Treasury update for the third quarter. It's an information item, but staff are happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Are there questions for item 5.1, the Treasury report? Seeing none. Next item, Ms. Kinnaman.
We've got reports from board directors.
Seeing none.
And moving to public question period for items relevant to the agenda. And we'll just turn things over to our corporate officer, Jamie Van Ness.
Thank you.
Thank you. We do not have any members of the public joining us in person tonight. We do have one member of the public joining us by Zoom. This would be your opportunity to ask a question relevant to the hospital district agenda. You can just hit the raise hand function. And while we give the member of public an opportunity to raise their hand, I will note we have not received any written questions.
Thank you.
And it would appear there are no questions, and we can move on to the next agenda item.
Next item, please.
Looking for motion to adjourn the hospital district meeting.
Move, Madam Chair.
Director Dreesen and Director Facio. Those in favor, contrary, carried. Thank you.
All right. I'd like to start the meeting by recognizing the area we call the Fraser Valley Regional District has been home to Indigenous peoples for many generations. There are 31 communities with reserve land in the FVRD's jurisdiction, as many as 69 different groups with interests in this area. This diverse landscape means that there are many different viewpoints that need to be considered when we make decisions, because what we decide here as local government can affect everyone in different ways now and into the future. So as part of that collective responsibility, I commit that we continually examine the work that we do to ensure that our projects, plans, initiatives, and discussions are guided by the principles of inclusion, collaboration, and reconciliation, both today and into the future. With that in mind, I'd like to call to order the October 24th meeting of the Fraser Valley Regional District Board of Directors. Ms. Kinnaman.
Looking for approval of the agenda and late items.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. It's moved by Director Facio, seconded by Director Smith. All in favor, opposed if any. The item carries. Next item.
Item 4.1, we have the Metro Vancouver Solid Waste Management Plan update and a delegation.
All right. Welcome, friends from Metro Vancouver, delegates. I don't know if I'm turning this over to Chair Hurley, but nice to see you. And I see you're on mute.
Yeah, nice to see you.
There we go. Yep.
Yeah.
I'll turn the floor over to you.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for inviting us. My name is Mike Hurley, Chair of the Metro Vancouver Board of Directors. I would like to start this meeting in a good way by recognizing that Metro Vancouver's solid waste programs, projects, and policies take place on the shared territories of many First Nations, including Ketsi, Kwantlen, Coquitlam, Matsqui, Musqueam, Kikite, Semiahmoo, Squamish, Sawasan, and the Tsleil-Waututh, and of course, in both Metro Vancouver and Fraser Valley Regional District region, the Stolo Nations. We know that this is important that various interests, perspectives, and values are reflected in the plan update to ensure a stronger, more inclusive plan for everyone, and we have made efforts to do so. So thank you for this opportunity to provide an update on Metro Vancouver's solid waste management planning process. And today I'm joined by my colleagues, John McEwen, Vice Chair of Metro Vancouver Board, Sarah Kirby-Young, Chair of Metro Vancouver's Zero Waste Committee, Andrea Reimer, Chair of the Independent Consultant and Engagement Panel, Jerry Dobrovolny, Metro Vancouver's Commissioner, and Paul Henderson, General Manager of Solid Waste Services. Some of you will recall Metro Vancouver's presentation at the Fraser Valley Regional District Board meeting held in May 2021. At that time, we were just starting the plan update process and wanted to hear how Fraser Valley Regional District wanted to be involved. Our two regional districts have much in common. We share an airshed and our economies are inextricably linked, with people and goods moving freely between our regions. We share many of the same goals and face the same challenges. We're working together on important issues like flood resiliency planning and air quality management, and we have more opportunities, I believe, to collaborate. We want to continue the conversation about the future of solid waste management as well, in support of our common goals around waste reduction, climate resiliency, and the circular economy. I look forward to your feedback today. And with that, I will hand it over to Director Kirby-Young, who will provide more details. Sarah, over to you.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you very much, Chair Hurley. And I do want to thank all the directors for FVRD for taking time on your agenda with us this evening. We're really grateful to be here and appreciate the land acknowledgements. So I'm pleased to have the pleasure of introducing the 5-year financial plan for the Solid Waste Services Division. Metro Vancouver and the City of Vancouver together operate a network of facilities across the region that offer recycling and waste disposal facilities collectively. Metro Vancouver Solid Waste function is dedicated to ensuring excellent customer service to the more than 1 million annual users that we have in the solid waste system. Our regional solid waste system is resilient, and it's a reliable public user pay funded program through tipping fees. As the chair of the Zero Waste Committee, I can confirm that the financial plan reflects Solid Waste Services' commitment to continuous improvement on key performance measures that include focusing on waste reduction, increasing recycling, reducing greenhouse gases, enhancing customer service, and delivering both an accessible and a cost-effective system. The solid waste function has also been working on updating the Regional Solid Waste Management Plan, which is the significant piece of work that our group is undertaking this term, with the intention of identifying ways to further reduce waste, increase recycling, as I mentioned, and the greenhouse gas emissions, and to further a circular economy. So for more details on this year's budget and the financial plan, it is my pleasure to introduce our General Manager of Solid Waste Services, Paul Henderson. Who will come on shortly, I am sure.
Yeah, I think I'm handing it actually to Jerry Dobrovolny to provide some feedback.
We went a little bit sideways. Paul, why don't you do the next couple slides and then you hand off to Andrea, and then Andrea hands off to me. We'll get back. Do you have the next couple slides? I think are we still on slide 2?
Yeah. Why don't I have Stephanie's here with us too? Stephanie can walk through those slides quickly.
Did you want to back up and Jerry, did you have a couple of stage setting slides you wanted to provide first?
No, well that's okay. I mean we can Stephanie, go ahead and walk through these slides, and then I think it'll go Stephanie, Andrea, and then me.
Sure, that sounds good. Thanks. Hi, thank you. My name is Stephanie Liu. I'm the program manager of the Community Engagement Group for Solid Waste Services at Metro Vancouver. I'll just walk through the next couple of slides that detail the solid waste management plan update process. Just wanted to highlight, as you can see from this slide, we're making really excellent progress towards meeting or exceeding the goals of Metro Vancouver's existing solid waste plan, with an 11% reduction in waste generation and having achieved a 65% recycling rate. Updating the plan really lets us revisit these goals and to make sure we're meeting the needs of our growing and changing communities. And so it's going to identify how we can further reduce waste, increase reuse and recycling, reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and support a circular economy. We began the process in 2021 with pre-engagement activities to determine how audiences wanted to be involved. And in 2022, we moved on to form 2 key advisory committees and then developed the vision and guiding principles in 2023 with input from the public, input from First Nations, and also input from adjacent regional districts, including the FBRD. So now we're at the idea generation phase, and following this phase that we're in now, we'll take time to analyze and assess the options and strategies that have been brought up through this current phase, and then create a draft of Metro Vancouver's updated solid waste management plan. This slide just highlights some of the feedback that we had heard from the FBRD board in 2021 when we came to present to you. Just recognizing this feedback that we have heard and have been incorporating. We heard clearly the importance of identifying common goals shared by our regional districts, taking a data-driven approach to decision-making, reducing and monitoring air pollutants, engaging with industry and also Indigenous communities, and allowing enough time for feedback. And so also at that meeting in 2021, Metro Vancouver advised that there is no work underway to develop new waste energy capacity, and that remains the case today. Okay, and so since we last met, we did engage on vision and guiding principles, and on the screen here are our vision statement and guiding principles for the updated solid waste management plan that were developed as a result of engagement last year. So the vision statement, I'll just read out: a thriving region where nothing is wasted and resources are valued. Definitely some key themes in the guiding principles around affordability, accountability, innovation, and transparency. So our current phase, idea generation, the objective is to generate a set of potential actions, strategies, and goals for the plan. So engagement meetings are taking place this fall. There is a meeting scheduled with adjacent regional district staff, including the Fraser Valley Regional District, and Fraser Valley Regional District staff have accepted that invitation. So we look forward to that conversation in November. And we will keep you updated as this work continues in the next year or two. So I believe now we have Andrea Reimer, who has a few words to share.
Great, thank you, Stephanie. Hello, everyone. Good evening. I'm some of you know that I'm Andrea Reimer, and I chair the Independent Consultation and Engagement Panel. And for those of you that don't know me, you now know that as well. So the panel, our big long name, it consists of third-party experts who were brought on to advise staff and the board on consultation and engagement related to this update to the solid waste management plan. We have 3 other members, external members: Cheryl Brooks, who's president and CEO of Indigenuity Consulting Group; Peter Fassbender, who I'm sure many of you have met in the course of your work, who's a former MLA and former Langley City Mayor; Veronica Berlitsky, who was a co-founder of City Hive and currently is doing their master's on engagement strategies; and then, of course, our 5th member is Director Kirby Young, who serves as the liaison to the Zero Waste Committee at the Metro Board. So our role is to advise staff in the development of a robust and inclusive engagement program. In addition to working closely with staff and reporting to the board, we also provide opportunities for interested parties to provide feedback directly to us. When we last came to see you, we were just getting going on the pre-engagement phase, and that phase ultimately laid out three specific tests for engagement for the panel. Three of the main ones we've used to assess the effectiveness of the engagement are: first, transparency of both the process and the information; second, provision of multiple engagement avenues to allow people to right-size their participation; and then third, reaching First Nations and equity denied groups who haven't historically participated. In our opinion, staff have met or exceeded the standards set by the panel as informed by stakeholders in pre-engagement, so those three tests. And overall, the panel feels that this approach has resulted in a comprehensive vision and guiding principles, what Stephanie was just going through. I will note that no engagement is likely to ever be perfect, but we have seen persistent efforts to reach the highest possible level. In particular, the commitment to First Nations resulted in a high level of engagement, in fact, much higher than other efforts at Metro projects to date. So we're feeling good about that and feel that overall the approach addresses a greater range of needs and interests and will have positive impacts both on the process and the solid waste management plan itself. Thank you. And as presage, I'm going to hand it over to Metro Vancouver's Commissioner, Jerry Dobrevolny.
Thank you very much, Andrea. And thank you for inviting us here today. Metro Vancouver, in all of its functions, strives to operate in an environmentally, socially, and fiscally responsible way. And our solid waste management system is no exception. Our priorities are to encourage waste prevention and to recycle as much as possible, and to responsibly manage the remaining material. And I would like to brag a little bit because, you know, our diversion rate is about twice the national average, with about 65% of the waste being diverted out of the waste system. And so, but our focus is on reducing waste to minimize required waste disposal capacity. And I should stress, you've heard it before, that there is no work underway to develop new waste energy capacity in the region. We make every effort to make sure that the existing waste energy facility is operating at the highest possible standard and in full transparency. The facility handles about a quarter of the region's residual waste, and the rest goes to landfill. Thanks to the state-of-the-art pollution control technology and continuous emission monitoring, we know that the waste energy facility has a very low level of emissions. We're confident about the facility's performance. And as you can see from the charts, not only have we consistently been significantly lower than the regulatory limits, that relationship is maintained while the regulatory limits have been reduced. So you see that in the red lines as those have dropped. Our performance has continued to stay below those limits. All of our monitoring data is freely available on our website. And I encourage anybody that's interested to go onto our website and see that information. So with that, I'll invite Vice Chair John McEwen to talk about next steps.
Thank you, Jerry. As Metro Vancouver enters the idea generation phase of the plan development, we're keen to hear from the Fraser Valley Regional District Board and your staff. Our jurisdictions face similar challenges and can learn from each other's experience. Ultimately, our two regional districts are working towards the same goals: reducing waste, recycling as much as possible, providing value for ratepayers, and supporting the circular economy. We want to continue the dialogue on sharing data, boosting capacity and resilience in the solid waste system, and testing innovative solutions. We're grateful for the opportunity to connect with you today and look forward to keeping the dialogue going through the subsequent phases of the plan's updated process. Thank you all.
Thank you, Vice Chair McEwen. Is that the conclusion of the presentation?
It is.
It is great. So we've got some time here to entertain some questions. So I'll just turn it over to board directors. Do you have any questions for our colleagues in Metro Vancouver? Director Barkman, go ahead.
Thank you for your presentation. My question is, I think we're getting pretty good on the reduction of garbage. How do you look at reducing more recyclables? And how do you budget that when contamination, I think, still is a big issue, glass mixed up with non-recyclables or green waste that might be put in the wrong containers. We do educate, we do recyclable audits. So my question is, how do you look at getting the recyclable or the contamination issue down?
Thank you for the question. I'll probably ask Paul to jump in as well, but I know we have quite an extensive information campaign and education campaign, providing information to residents. But Paul, can you talk a little bit more about contamination?
Yeah, just the same as you note that it's a real focus for Metro Vancouver to educate, and we see that across our member jurisdictions also. And the FERD staff will be aware that materials that are generated within Metro Vancouver are available to other regional districts also. So if there's any interest in using those resources, it's something we'd absolutely want to collaborate on.
Yeah, the advertising material is available for all.
Thank you. Other questions from board directors? Director Adamo, go ahead.
Thanks very much for your presentation. Quick question. How often are the regulatory levels of acceptance revisited, and who actually is responsible for determining what the levels of acceptance are through your region that flows to our region?
And sorry, what do you mean by the regulatory acceptance?
You showed one of your slides that showed where your level of acceptance is and that you were falling below that level of acceptance in terms of regulatory levels. Who determines what the acceptable regulatory levels are, and when is that, or how often is that revisited?
Paul?
Yeah, I think you're speaking to the emission levels for the waste to energy facility, and those are established in an operational certificate that's issued by the province of British Columbia. And the operational certificate that we're working under today was issued in 2016, and we work regularly with the province of British Columbia on the regulatory framework with respect to the waste to energy facility.
Thank you. Other questions? Director Dixon, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for the presentation. I just was a little curious. I have taken a look at your draft plan, I guess it is. And it looks like you're wanting to add another waste to energy facility if you couldn't find a place to do that. Is that correct?
No, Paul, go ahead.
Yeah, just reiterating what Jerry said in the 2011 solid waste management plan, it talked about waste reduction and recycling and the development of waste to energy in order to manage residual garbage. So new waste to energy, we're not pursuing that at this point in any way. There's no work being done today on development of new waste to energy.
Oh, okay, that's fine. May I ask one more question?
Go ahead.
In your existing waste to energy, and I'm sorry if you've already said this, I'm going to assume that there's still some parts of, after you've got all the energy out, that there are certain things that can't be used. Does that go to a landfill, or am I completely wrong? There's absolutely nothing left.
Yeah, again, I can speak to that, Jerry's okay. So the facility processes approximately 240,000 tons per year of garbage, which is roughly 25% of all the garbage that's left after 65% recycling. From that 250,000 tons of garbage, there's about 40,000 tons of what we call bottom ash, and it's the stuff that doesn't burn at the most simplest. So it's the portion that doesn't burn, 40,000 tons. There's an additional 10,000 tons of what's called fly ash, and the fly ash is the material that's from the air pollution control system. And there's about 10,000 tons of that. Both of those currently go to landfill. With respect to bottom ash, we have 2 pilots underway currently around beneficial use of that bottom ash, which have been very successful. And so we're working towards beneficial use of all of that bottom ash. The expectation is that fly ash, that 10,000 tons, will continue to be landfilled, and it's landfilled in a secure landfill in the United States.
Thank you. Other questions from board directors? Director Siemens, go ahead.
Thank you. Just on the existing waste to energy facility, what's the life cycle and what's the long range plan when that life cycle is up?
Jerry keeps nodding so the waste energy facility was constructed in 1988, and as Jerry noted, we regularly upgrade the facility both from an operational perspective along with an environmental protections perspective. So there's no end with respect to the life of the waste to energy facility. What you see, and this is characteristic in European communities, that elements of it just are replaced as they get old or new technology in place. So the expectation is it will continue to serve the region for many years into the future.
So while we have no plans to increase the waste to energy capacity in the region, we also don't have any plans to decrease the capacity.
Okay, other questions from board directors? Don't see any. Maybe I'll just weigh in and ask a question about disposal capacity, just generally in the region. We had been getting some reports that there are some challenges with disposal capacity, and just wondering if you could comment. I appreciate leading with the fact that you're not contemplating new or expanded waste energy capacity, but with the diversion rates the way they are, and I don't know if it's uncommon. I don't think it is uncommon across solid waste management plans that you run the risk of stalling at a certain diversion rate where people kind of aren't complying as much as we hoped, or more material is not getting diverted the way we wished it would. So unfortunately, we're still looking for these different disposal capacity that's out there. Are you guys contemplating different disposal capacity in terms of landfill, or you mentioned, I'm assuming it's Roosevelt, down in the States, or you're doing some capacity in the US? I think we are as well, but
I mean, maybe I'll start with the plateau and then I'll pass it on to Paul for options. But so it is true, we have hit a bit of a plateau in terms of our diversion rate. And so, 63, 64, 65% is where we have been now for the past number of years. And so that is a bit of a frustrating challenge for us. Our goal is to continue to see that increase. That's part of why we invest and work with producers, both through the National Zero Waste Council and through other mechanisms, because part of the solution to move past our plateau is to continue to work upstream with producers and have other ideas to reduce packaging in general. So we still have set targets to continue increasing our diversion rates, but it is true we've been stuck for the past few years and are looking at new options for that. Paul, do you want to talk about disposal options?
Yeah, I just wanted to flag the specifics. So currently, we use the Vancouver landfill in Delta. We use the waste energy facility in Burnaby, and then we're also using what we call contingency disposal. And so our model is that we maximize the use of the local system, and then we actually have 3 contracts for what we call contingency disposal. And for us, the key around that is just resilience. And I've heard Jerry note previously during the 2021 atmospheric river events, what we were able to do is receive some waste from the Fraser Valley Regional District as well as the Squamish-Lillooet Regional District, and based on the resilience of that system, where we have 2 local options, and then in addition we have these third-party options that we can use beyond the local capacity.
Thanks. And then I think in the in the increasing recyclables and diversion opportunities and the waste reduction stuff, I'm very interested in how our two regional districts can collaborate. We certainly don't want to be a place where people think they can escape from stringent, diversion rules or methods in Metro Vancouver and then come out here to the Fraser Valley. And likewise, we don't want to see I think having a mismatch of different kind of rules and regulations makes it confusing for residents and businesses alike. So I think there's always been areas where we could collaborate on that. I remember talking about these opportunities with Andrea a decade ago. So I think we're in an opportunity right now where we could look to explore some of that. I think I'm interested on the advocacy side where we can lend our voice to any advocacy measures to the, specifically from the National Zero Waste Council to the federal government on how we can reduce waste in the supply chain and reduce waste around packaging. And a lot of those levers are federal and provincial. And so if we can join in, I'd welcome that opportunity to work together on issues around that. And then I'm sure our staff will have many different ideas and other opportunities to provide feedback as you move through the idea generation phase. But no, we appreciate you attending tonight and giving us a bit of an update, and look forward to continuing to work together.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Ms. Kinnaman, next item.
Thank you. So moving to item 5.1, we have the draft Fraser Valley Regional District Board meeting minutes of September 26, 2024.
Thank you. It's moved by Director Pranger, seconded by Director Clute. All in favor? Opposed, if any, item carries. Next item.
Item 6 is committee minutes for information and matters arising, 6.1 through 6.4.
Thank you. Any questions on any of the information items? Don't see any. Next item.
7.1 is the FVRD board and committee meeting schedule for 2025.
Thank you. We're in a seconder. Moved by Director Lowen, seconded by Director Dickey. Discussion. Seeing none. All in favor? Opposed, if any. Item carries. Next item.
8.1 is the treasury update for the third quarter of 2024.
Thank you. Another information item. Any questions? Seeing none. Next item.
8.2 is the travel and other expenses policy update.
Thank you. We're in a seconder. Moved by Director Dickey, seconded by Director Clute. Discussion. Seeing none. All in favor? Opposed, if any. Item carries. Next item.
8.3 is financial plan 2024 to 2028 amendment for October.
Thank you. I need to move in a seconder on this one. It's moved by Director Seaman, seconded by Director Reed. Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed, if any. The item carries. Next item.
Section 9 is permits. There's a script in front of you, Chair.
Thank you. Pursuant to Part 14, Division 9 of the Local Government Act, this is the opportunity for the FVRD Board to hear from the public regarding the one development variance permit listed on the agenda for this meeting. Anyone who believes that their interests are affected by the proposed application will be given an opportunity to speak. If you have any verbal comments with respect to these permits and you're joining us by Zoom on a computer or smart device, I would ask you please press the raise hand function. Once your turn to speak, you'll be asked to unmute yourself. If you're joining us on Zoom by phone, please press *9. You'll notify staff you wish to speak. When you're prompted to unmute yourself, please press *6. Those of you wishing to speak are asked to begin your presentation by providing your name and address, which will be recorded and form part of our official record. Please limit your comments to 5 minutes and confine your remarks to the application at hand. Ms. Kinnaman.
9.1 is development variance permit 2024-06 to increase the maximum size and height for an accessory building at 52721 Park Rose Wind, Electoral Area D.
Thank you. Ms. Van Ness.
Thank you. We have one member of the public joining us by Zoom. We do not have any members of the public with us here this evening. And we'll just give the one member of public an opportunity to raise their hand if they do have any comments with respect to this item.
Thank you. For a second time. Third and a final time. Hearing none, it's the board wishes. This is for EAs. It's moved by Director Dickey, seconded by Director McMahonic. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, opposed if any, the item carries. Next item.
10.1 is the Fraser Canyon Complete Community Study Contract Award.
Thank you. We're in a seconder. Moved by Director Dixon, seconded by Director Johnson. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor, opposed if any, item carries. Next item.
10.2 is Development Approval Process Review Contract Award.
Thank you. We're in a seconder on this one. It's moved by Director Dreesen, seconded by Director Dixon. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor, opposed if any, item carries. Next item.
10.3 is Detailed Design of Wilson Road Recovery Work.
Thank you. We're in a seconder on that. It's moved by Director McMahonic, seconded by Director Clute. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor, opposed if any, the item carries. Next item.
10.4 is the Nakaman Island Dike Upgrades.
Thank you. It's moved by Acting Director Stobart, seconded by Director Barkman. Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor, opposed if any, the item carries. That was fortuitous. The Director Stobart be able to carry this on. Next item.
10.5 is Covenants for Proposed 3-Lot Subdivision of 10990 Sylvester Road in Electoral Area F.
Thank you.
Davidson moves.
Thank you. It's moved by Director Davidson and seconded by Director Adamo. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor, opposed if any, the item carries. Next item.
11.1 is Bylaw Building Code Contraventions at 47684 Old Boston Bar Road in Electoral Area A.
Thank you. We're in a seconder on this one. It's moved by Director Johnson, seconded by Director Davies. That looked like a hand up. Yep, thank you. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor, opposed if any, item carries. Next item.
11.2 is Bylaw Building Code Contraventions at 27313 Dogwood Valley Road in Electoral Area B.
Thank you. It's moved by Director Adamo, seconded by Director Johnson. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor, opposed if any. Oh, sorry, did you want to speak to that, Director Adamo? Yeah, go ahead.
Thanks through the chair to staff. At this stage now with this show cause legal notice, this began in 2013 and we're now in 2024. So my question is kind of simple, really. How much longer can this actually go on before we can recover anything? And in terms of what we've recovered to this date for this particular situation, it seems minuscule compared to what we've actually put into it. Is there a way to revisit the cost recovery process at some time? Obviously not today, but this is, 11 years is a long time for something that doesn't look like it's actually going to be solved anytime soon still.
Ms. Kinnaman?
We do have our Director of Planning and Development, Graham Daniluz, on the line. I'll just look to see if he's available. Yes, he is.
There he is, yeah. Mr. Daniluz?
Thank you, Chair Lum, through the chair to Director Adamo. By cost recovery, I'm assuming that you're speaking about the recovery of our compliance and enforcement costs. Bylaw enforcement very seldom achieves a cost recovery, but we are able to recover some of our costs through ticketing, and we can certainly continue to ticket the infractions on this property and ultimately recover some part of our costs of enforcement. But I would caution that ultimately our cost recovery on any given bylaw enforcement file is likely to be a very small part of the cost of our enforcement efforts.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Thanks. And with respect to anticipated time of closing a file like this?
Ms. Kinnaman or Mr. Daniluz?
No, thank you, Chair. If it's in the interest of the board, we can bring this item forward to you again for consideration of court action to compel the owner to achieve compliance with their bylaws. So that would be the next major step for us if we're looking for a swift resolution of this longstanding file.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments or questions? And I thought maybe Director Damo, there was that question in around, I don't think you asked it, but just out of curiosity. So any unpaid or fines that would go unpaid or tickets, those would be put on title and added to the property and collected if there was a sale of the property. That's correct, Ms. Kinnaman or Mr. Donnelly, sorry.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, we don't have the ability to recover outstanding tickets through property taxes, but we do register judgments against the property title for outstanding amounts, and we send unpaid tickets to collections, in which case, if collections are successful, we receive about 40% of the face value of the tickets.
Okay, thank you. I don't see any other questions. Call the question. All in favor? Opposed, if any, the item carries. Next item.
11.3 is the Fraser Valley Regional District Transit Services Update and 2025 FVX Critical Fix.
Thank you. That's moved by Director Popov, seconded by Director Shahal. Discussion. Yeah. Go ahead, Director Driesen. I heard you, but saw Director Clute, so you go ahead.
Sorry. I thought you were going to move along, so
Nope.
I wanted to pull your attention. I just wanted to confirm with staff, this is 2,100 hours. I want to make sure I read the report on top of the 2,100 hours that were implemented in September. So this is 4,200 total, essentially in the last 6 months or so that we're adding.
Yes, I can confirm that.
Sorry, I heard, sorry, Ms. Stewart. Yeah.
Yeah, through the chair, yes, I can confirm that.
Okay.
Okay. Then
Go ahead.
just, no, just to comment that I was very happy to hear that. It's very exciting news. So thank you so much to staff for working on this, because I know it's much needed in the communities. So
Appreciate it. Thank you, Director Driesen. Director Clute.
Thank you. Just a quick question. Was there any opportunity to, obviously 2,100 new hours is a good news story, but they continue to be over capacity, the buses. And I'm wondering if there's an opportunity that they would look at a larger bus, like you see them out in the Langley to Lougheed, the double deckers. Is there consideration given to that, to add that to the Fraser Valley route?
Ms. Kinnaman, that's the second time I've heard this question.
Yes, the double decker seems to be a popular request, but we'll just have Ms. Stewart comment on that.
I will try to answer that question, being a bus expert. Certainly those sorts of discussions have arisen as these challenges have come along, as Highway 1 improvements come along and the overpasses get raised. There may be more opportunities to review sort of double deckers and that sort of thing, but certainly it has been part of the conversation with BC Transit. But certainly every expansion that we have done has been almost instantly absorbed by demand. So it's sort of trying to keep up is a challenge.
Thank you. Other questions? I'm not the only person that didn't think about the overpasses. I just want to go ahead and put that out there. I'm not the only person that did it. Yeah. I was thinking, Director Clute, what a great idea, until you had to rain on the parade and say, we've got these pesky overpasses. Everybody else hits them. Why not us? Next, any other questions or comments? Constructive ones? No? Director Facio?
With respect to it, Mr. Chairman, I want first dibs on driving that
Yes.
double decker, okay?
We'd also like them to be red too, I think, right? Yeah, perfect. Don't see any. This is, in all seriousness, this is a very positive thing. I think this continues to be a service that is kind of the always talked about by BC Transit. It's one of the it's kind of the pride and joy having the FVX. I understand that a lot of the critical fix is going to go into utilizing some of those additional capacity between McCallum and Lougheed, and that's going to go a long way for the folks that were having either having to wait for the next buses or were standing room only. So as part of the commitment to continuing to improve this service, I think this is really important. It looks like BC Transit is also, and the province is bought into this with us, and so we're happy to see these expansions come. No other questions. I'll call the question. All in favor, opposed if any. The item carries. Next item.
11.4 is the North of Fraser Transit Service Feasibility Study. There's a motion for your consideration.
Thank you.
Recommendation, Mr.
Thank
Chair.
you. It's moved by Director Facio and seconded by Director Mekahonic. Discussion on this one, Director Gill.
Thank you. Through the chair, fully support the recommendation to refer this item back to staff. Reading the report, it's critical that this becomes part of the broader plan to transition the 701 route into BC Transit's operation. Doing this would reduce our costs by about 47% and allow us to add stops at Silverdale, the intersection of Nelson and Lloyd Highway. Because the 701 is operated by TransLink, we aren't benefiting from the 47% subsidies, the ability to retain fares, ability to retain advertising revenues the same way we would if BC Transit operated the route. And it's also very important to remember that Mission bears 100% of the cost for the West Coast Express connection to Haney, which results from riders from Kent, the electrical districts to our east and north Abbotsford being subsidized by Mission taxpayers. So it's important that we receive the same support to integrate this service into the regional transit model moving forward. So that's just a comment. So I'm very supportive of sending it back to staff.
Thank you, Director Davies.
Thank you, and I as well, strong support for this. It's really going to be important that staff look at this as a regional model versus the kind of the conjoined little separated models it is today, so that when people are coming from Kent heading west or from Maple Ridge heading east, that it makes sense end to end.
Thank you. Other comments or questions? So I'll just Director Pranger, go ahead.
I am in favor of referring it back to staff, but I do want to emphasize the importance of providing this service on the north side of the river. So I hope we're able to come to a resolution of the issues sooner than later. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Pranger. And very similar to the comments that I was going to make. I mean, I'm interested specifically in how, we can work with the city of Mission to kind of try and help expedite a decision both with TransLink and BC Transit. So it would take TransLink giving up a route or a part of a route, from what I understand, and BC Transit taking over it, which would look at a fairly, I guess, modest increase to what they would have to provide. But I think again, like what Director Pranger is saying, I'm hoping we can have kind of a plan A and a plan B that we can kind of move forward. I fully understand some of the challenges raised by our colleagues in Mission, but I don't hold out a ton of hope, not to be a negative Nelly here. I don't hold out a ton of hope in getting anything expeditiously passed through TransLink in terms of some of these services. It's not like a service area as I understand it, where you can withdraw or move through withdrawing from as a participant from a service area. But if there's a way we can try and have a plan, if TransLink doesn't come to the table with changing the 701 route, what is our plan B that doesn't hold up service to those north side communities that have been, I would say, patiently waiting their turn on some of these, and it's by no fault of the city of Mission. I don't want you to think that that's where I'm going with my comments, but just saying, how can we kind of put our shoulder to the wheel as the regional district and help try and move this along, so we can get a service over there on the north side, not just for the electoral areas, but the First Nation communities that are also eager to participate and need this service. So certainly I want us to take the opportunity when it gets referred back to staff to sit down and try and put a plan of action together fairly quickly. I'd like to see something get back to the board as soon as we possibly can.
If I may, Chair, my understanding is that this would be coming back to the November cycle because the transit improvement program, TIPS, is coming in November as well. So that will be a critical decision point.
Okay. I mean, it wouldn't be ideal to run a parallel service, but if there was a parallel service envisioned, and it didn't have to wait for necessarily a withdrawal from TransLink, and it was committed to be funded by BC Transit or the province, and maybe we're a little bit closer along. But Director Davies?
Thank you, Chairman. With the consideration of a parallel service, the 7-1 is a very limited service.
Yeah.
So, a parallel one that ran outside of 701 hours would be of great interest for sure.
Okay. Director Gill?
Thank you, Chair. And just piggybacking off of Director Davies, I agree. And for us, Mission is very supportive of this idea. And we want to see, folks that are coming from Agassiz, to see, connect with that transit system, because the 7-1 is so limited. With, these cost savings, we're allowed to also expand the 701 if BC Transit does take it over, allowing those folks that are coming from Agassiz or Hope to have those connections to the TransLink system.
Great. Okay, on referral, call the question. All in favor? Opposed, if any. Items referred. Thank you. Next item.
11.5 is public alerting system use policy.
Thank you. Mover and a seconder. It's moved by Director Ross, seconded by Director Dreesen. Discussion. Director Dixon, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for this report. Just a couple of questions I'm a little bit curious on. I read in here that member municipalities have their own alerting system, so I'm just curious if they use Alertable, because in the soul chart there are certainly some people from Abbotsford, Chilliwack that have signed up to, I guess, the FVRD Alertable, I think. So I'm just wondering if the municipalities have their own Alertable or something completely different.
Ms. Kenneman, I think we do.
Yes, through the chair to Director Dixon, certainly a number of our member municipalities and others around the province of British Columbia are using that same system, but maybe I'll just have our manager of emergency management, Trina College, comment.
Thank you through the chair. Yes, the majority of municipalities or our member municipalities are using their own account on Alertable and pushing emergency alerts where appropriate. Some are using it for emergency use only, others are using it for non-emergency use. Not all have yet formally launched their version of Alertable or their use of Alertable in public domain, but I think there's only one city within FVRD that's not yet got a live launched account, and I could be corrected, but it's to the best of my knowledge from the EM community. The rationale for us having people that follow FVRD and follow the cities is the dynamic aspect of the follow me option. So as you travel through FVRD, you may have selected areas that do and don't use Alertable, and you may be notified if you drive into a geography where people are receiving alerts or expressing a desire to receive alerts. And then there's additional alerts that go through Alertable from Drive BC, as well as Environment Climate Change Canada, and now the new early earthquake warning system. So people are following communities, whether or not they have an Alertable subscription, because those other feeds will automate through there.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
One more. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Also, if I look in the policy, it says that we can enter into written agreements with neighborhoods and First Nations, and as such, I'm just curious, do we have any existing ones with First Nations yet, or are we letting them know about Alertable, that type of thing? Just wondering where we're at with that.
Thank you. We have no existing relationships with any First Nations or municipalities to issue messages on their behalf, nor do any with us to issue messages on our behalf. Many First Nations are aware of Alertable. There is, of course, a cost to providing that service. And there is additional work being done from emergency management Indigenous representative organizations to consider enterprise level agreements that would allow many First Nations to co-subsidize one common use. But there is a patchwork of emergency alerting systems across our landscape. As a highlight, if we issue something through Alertable, even if we geographically bind it to an area, people in the nearby area may still receive notifications. So First Nations may still receive what we send or what a member municipality sends through Alertable.
Thank you. Other questions, comments? Director Adamo.
Thanks through the chair to Ms. Coleridge. A couple things about Alertable. It only works for people that have cell service. Is that correct? It'll still work with everyone else because Sunshine Valley has had no cell service for the last 30 days. We've had limited to zero. Laidlaw has been out for most of the last month, off and on, sporadic. And people have been concerned and been expressing concern to me, saying, well, how do we get an emergency service here if we can't call anybody or call out or receive anything? So can you explain how that works?
Yeah, thank you. It's a great question. Alertable is not limited to a cell phone app. People can actually subscribe to be notified by satellite phone, by text message, by email. So if they do have internet, they could receive notification in those ways as well. If they have a landline phone that's not reliant on internet, they could punch in their phone number and receive a manual telephone call that automates the recording. As well, if they have email notification and they have access to satellite internet, they would be able to receive any mechanism that they've subscribed to, not limited to an app.
Okay. Other questions or comments? Don't see any. Call the question. All in favor? Opposed, if any. The item carries. Next item.
11.6 is sandbag policy. There's a motion for your consideration.
Thank you. Need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Director Popo, seconded by Director Smith. Discussion, Director Davidson, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. So noting that you're looking at putting a sandbag station closer for electoral areas E and H is great. I'm mindful of the 2021 ARE where I believe we had sandbags and sand deposited to Fire Hall number 1 in Coman Island. My challenge with this policy is that essentially the same location has moved 20 minutes further east from its previous location. And Hatzick watershed and to a lesser extent the Stave Lake watershed are both prone to flooding, and the need for sandbags has been there in the past and is likely going to be there in the future. Have staff looked at any options that would better serve those watersheds? It seems like from my perspective, we're moving further away at a time when I'd like to see it moving closer.
Ms. Kinnaman.
Through the chair to Director Davidson, the intention with this policy is to establish a couple of strategic locations on the north side of the Fraser, south side of the Fraser, and then potentially with the motion as it's written is one for the Chilliwack River Valley, but those would be more permanent locations of sandbag distribution. In the event that we were in an emergency and we needed to have additional locations for sandbag distribution, we can always do that through our Emergency Operations Center. We can also establish partnerships with our member municipalities in the event of an emergency. It has been challenging to site sandbags at fire hall locations, and so this policy is an attempt to move away from that process. We need to provide communities with the tools so that they can protect their properties and utilize those resources on their own, whereas citing it in locations where there might be an expectation of assistance, and that's not always possible in some of those other locations, such as a fire hall.
I guess I'm just looking. I'm sorry, Chair, may I respond?
Go ahead. Yeah.
I'm just looking for, I guess, an understanding that there's at least flexibility during SOLE that you can get sand and sandbags, when underpinned through a DFA, to where it can be used. reasonably by those people who need it.
Through the chair to Director Davidson, that's exactly the intention here, is that in an emergency operations center activation, we have that flexibility to provide temporary locations as needed through those requests through the PREOC. These would be the more permanent locations that we would have, and again, strategically citing them with agreements with the province, land tenure, etc.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Other comments or questions? Don't see any. So call the question. All in favor? Opposed if any? The item carries. Next item.
11.7 is letter to UBCM requesting governance review.
Thank you. I'll just recognize
Move
Director
recommendation.
Ross. Thank you. I'm gonna just recognize Director Ross because I think she's got an amendment to that. No, that's okay.
Sorry, Director Basio. Yeah, there would be a slight amendment. So just to speak to the motion briefly, though, it would be nice to see a governance review at UBCM, because it seems the way it shakes out year after year is there ends up being an inequity of representation where there's overrepresentation by some areas and underrepresentation by others. For example, Metro Vancouver, if you include the City of Vancouver's dedicated seat, they have 4 dedicated seats on the board. FERD has absolutely none, even though we have the 3rd highest population of any regional district in the province. And I think we have a lot to offer. I just wanted to got some stats from Jennifer about, to me, I guess one of the most important things that we can offer of value to the board is any discussions in terms of agriculture or the food security crisis, which is emerging as a very important issue. So from the 2021 census, the FERD ranks #1 by far, generating 40% of the province's revenues with a total of 1.9 billion. That's farm gate receipts are now called operating revenues. This second one is Metro Vancouver at 27% with 1.3 billion, and the next closest is the regional district of Peace River at 235 million. So this is a very important issue for the province, and I think that's just one issue we could provide value to the board. So I would like to see some kind of system set up that was a little more fair and equitable. And I know the Fraser Valley Regional District isn't the only one that feels underrepresented. For the island, for example, I think they feel the same way. So this isn't just about us. The amendment that I'd like to ask for was just to be specific. This issue was discussed at the Lower Mainland Local Government Association Board last week, and they unanimously agreed to send a letter asking for a governance review. But they felt that it was really important that we be specific about a couple of things that we want to see in it, which I thought was a really good addition. So here is I've already sent this to Jennifer. I don't know if you have the ability to pull it up, or do you want me to I can just read it out. The Lower Mainland, oh, sorry, I'm reading theirs. Here's ours. Well, I will read out what theirs was. They request that UBCM conduct a governance review to ensure that there's adequate and fair representation on the UBCM executive from all regions of British Columbia. But I've also added a piece because I think it's really important that we participate in that. I don't want just, the board looking at this and conducting the review and telling us how it's going to be implemented. I think it's important that we are asked, and all of the regional districts in the province are asked to participate in this review. So here's the motion that I would like to put forward, that the FERD direct staff to write a letter to the UBCM president and executive requesting a governance review with the objective of ensuring that there is adequate and fair representation on the UBCM board from all regions of the province, and that the FERD and other regional districts be included to participate in the review and provide input. And I'll make that motion.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you. That's seconded by Director Facio. Discussion. Director Dreesen.
Thank you. Just wondering, when this gets sent, or should this pass and get sent, will we be copying the other regional districts on it as well, so they're aware and they can perhaps send their own letters as well? Or can
I see a nodding head from Ms. Kinnaman.
Happy to do so.
Yep, we can CC them. Absolutely. Director Gibson.
Thank you, Chair. Just
a relatively small protocol. It says write a letter to the president and executive. My preference is to draft a letter from you because these are elected people. I think it's inappropriate for staff to write to the elected people. So this letter should go under your hand, not from staff. And that's my suggestion.
Yeah, I think that's implied, Director Gibson, but good point. It would be a letter, yeah, under my signature. Other comments, Director Facio? Did you have your, sorry. No, that's okay. I just didn't want to miss you. Other comments or questions? I don't see any. Ready for the question? All in favor? Opposed, if any? The item carries. Thank you. Next item.
Moving down to section 13, which is items for information. Happy to separate any of these items.
Thank you. Any questions on any of our correspondence or information items? Or sorry, these are information items, not correspondence. Don't see any. Next item.
The next is items for correspondence. Happy to separate that and I'll discuss.
Thank you. Questions on correspondence items?
I have one.
Director Dixon, go ahead.
So we're on this
letter from
Heatherwood? Okay.
Fair Gates. Yep.
Well, I don't have a problem with the letter, but I'm just this is with cities. Does this same type of thing happen in the regional districts where they can be delinquent with their taxes? And I'm just curious if we are impacted by that.
Skinman?
Through the chair to Director Dixon, if you'd like to ask us to bring back a report on this subject, we'd be happy to do so. I don't have any staff here that have been prepared to answer a question on this letter from the City of Merritt. But if you'd like us to bring something back, or I see Kelly Lonsrose putting her camera on, maybe she wants to comment.
Yes, thank you. Through the chair to Director Dixon, we don't collect taxes directly. So while property owners have the same time thresholds, it is collected through the province and the various cities, the various municipalities. So for electoral areas, they pay the provincial government. And then for the municipalities, member municipalities, they pay, of course, the municipalities. So we don't quite have this same issue.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Don't see any other questions. Next item.
Moving down to reports by board directors.
Thank you. Board directors, that would be your opportunity. Director Clute, go ahead.
Thank you. I just wanted to extend my thanks to everybody who ran in the latest provincial election. And certainly we did see quite a shift here in the Fraser Valley, but I want to thank everybody who stepped forward and congratulate the successful candidates and thank the outgoing MLAs that served our region so well. Thanks.
Thank you, Director Clute. Director McElhonick, go ahead.
Just wanted to invite anyone that is interested in coming out to the Chilliwack River Valley to support the 6 families that have been impacted by the atmospheric river. We're doing a fundraiser on November 23rd. Director Castle has graciously offered to MC it. We have music and many door prizes and silent auction items, so trying to help them out. And there is a GoFundMe, and the information's on the Chilliwack River Valley Facebook page. And they've done some more media on that and had the residents speaking about it. And we're hoping maybe we can get some more traction on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Smith, go ahead.
Yeah, hi, thank you through the chair. Yeah, I want to thank Councillor Dusty Smith and Hope and that for leading the charge for cleaning up the Skagit. He did it in a very organized way, and Adama was there with his own equipment and helping out too. So they had over 30 volunteers and equipment that. So it happened on a Saturday and Sunday, which should have taken a month. They did it in 48 hours and had it cleaned up in all the areas that have been a concern that over the years have been blocked off now, cleaned up everything else. And it worked out really well on the weekend. So because if you go to seek legal counsel, they weren't available to Monday. And by then it was all over. So it worked out really well. So thank you.
Thank you. Director Adamo.
Thanks very much. Just to everyone, this is an open invitation to attend the Holiday Trails Resort, where they feature their world famous haunted house. It's their final weekend prior to Halloween, and it's a great fundraiser for our unfunded local fire department. So it would be great to have everyone out. They've had rave reviews so far. And I also wanted to welcome our new board members of the Yale Ratepayers. I attended the AGM the other night and facilitated their election, and it was a great success. So we have some new members. So thank you, and I look forward to working with everyone in the next year. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Gill.
Thank you. Through the chair, open invite to everyone is the Purple Lights Nights community is doing a walk in fight against domestic violence. So it'll be on Saturday, October 26th from 10 to 12 in Mission at the Sarah for Women office on 5th Avenue.
Thank you, Director Gill. Other reports from directors? I don't see any. So I'll just take the opportunity to thank everyone. This being my last board meeting that I will chair of the Fraser Valley Regional District. I appreciate each and every one of you and the work that goes into making this what I will say is the greatest regional district in the province of British Columbia. I've had the opportunity to serve as chair since 2016, and through that we've gone through some pretty challenging times, and in every one of those occasions, I've had the privilege of having the vantage point here to see how each and every one of you stepped up and helped out your communities. So it's been an absolutely wonderful experience, and I want to thank all of my fellow directors. To the staff, I want to give my absolute thanks and appreciation. You make this role look easy. All the work that you do to keep all of us prepared every day in these challenging roles is incredible. I know you go above and beyond, all of you, and absolutely couldn't do any of this work, and nor would we have achieved the great many successes that this board has achieved without all of your incredible professionalism and all of your incredible work that you do for this organization. So I just want to say thanks, and I'm thinking about the greatest retirement speech that I ever heard sitting at this table was from a fella who, what did he say? He met Buzz Aldrin, and he asked him what it was like to step on the moon. He said, "It was a blast," I think. And we'll just leave it at that. It's been a blast. So thanks a lot for the opportunity. All right. Thank you very much. Next item, Skinnaman.
So moving to public question period for items relevant to the agenda, we'll just turn things over to our corporate officer, Jamie Van Ness.
Thank you. We still have one member of the public still on Zoom with us tonight, and this is your opportunity to ask a question relevant to the agenda. We have not received any questions, and we do not have any members of the public with us tonight. And it would appear there's no questions, and we can move on to the next item.
Thank you. Skinnaman.
Looking for a resolution to close the meeting.
Good. Moved by Director Facio, second by Director Gibson. All in favor, opposed if any. And we'll move to close.
Okay, just give us 3 minutes to set up the room.